Hello, friends. Welcome to Love Wrestling for our latest and, well, hopefully greatest interview of the year. It is likely our final one of the year, and I am Spencer Love, very excited to be joined by not only the first ever woman to hold the PWA World's Championship, over 420 days and counting, the winner of the 2024 Coliseum Tournament. It wasn't solo. It was Jessica Troy. Jessica, how are you doing, friend? It is great to meet you. It is great to be able to pick your brain on Australia, your upcoming shows, and everything in between. But before that, how the heck are you doing, friend?
I'm doing really well. I had a pretty big night last night, and it's early morning for me, but we move on. I have a tea.
It's holiday party season, I would have to assume.
Sorry?
It's holiday party season.
Very much is holiday party season in full swing.
Well, if it helps, after this, I am on my way to the same, so I'm lucky I'm not doing this tomorrow morning because I'd be a little crispy myself. But either way, we are about a week away from December 28th, Mounties Mania. You are going to be teaming with the Dropouts to take on North Shore Wrestling, including, of course, Charli Evans. Now, your history is well documented. Don't get me wrong there, and there are a lot of great interviews that you guys can go and check out over the last couple of months. But obviously, and no pun on North Shore Wrestling, but the tides have turned a little bit as far as how everything's gone between you and Charli. So maybe how are you approaching this in the ring differently, but mentally, how are you doing just after everything after the last couple of months?
In the ring, not so different, because when it comes to Charli Evans and our single career, I've beaten her most of the time anyway. So I'm just going to do what I always do. And at Coliseum, I beat her. She can call me a coward or a cheat, but I still got the pinfall. It was just a quick little pin, but I still won. It's more so the mental game of her not being on my side, now being against me. It's not really something I'm used to, but I'm happy I have my new friends, the Dropouts, and we'll see what we can make together.
Absolutely. Now, between yourself, Charli, of course, North Shore Wrestling, a lot of great names that I'm going to go throughout this conversation, but it has exploded in Australia as far as wrestling over the last decade. You know, I'm Canadian. I think there are a lot of parallels between sort of our two countries as far as the great quality of wrestling, but maybe not the exposure, maybe not the eyes, or whatever word you choose to put on it that we would want. So maybe is there one thing that you would credit with the recent rise or the long-term rise, I guess a decade ain't a short time, in Australian wrestling, or are there maybe a combination of things over the last little bit that have really led to the scene exploding like it has?
Yeah, for me, it's a bit of a combination of things. I say we're just really lucky and fortunate that we have coaches and trainers that have traveled the world, and we have like world-class training here. So even at like PWA, our training school, we have people like Madison Eagles, Robbie Eagles, we have Mick Moretti. I'm a coach there now, and I've traveled to like the States and a bit all over the training and whatnot. So we just have amazing coaches that have traveled for years and years, like decades, and they're just handing down knowledge from America, Japan, UK, everywhere that they've been to. So the Australian wrestling scene is very much like a strange mix of Japanese strong style. Maybe there's some like American indie kind of style in here, and people have been to Canada and brought back what they've learned back there. So it's a really cool mix of worldly wrestling. And I think it's just any audience would like it because there's a little bit for everyone.
Yeah. Did you have a chance to go to Elimination Chamber last year?
I didn't know, but I regret it. I regret not going.
How much does something like that bring to the scene? You know, even just the back scenes with the tryout that happened there in Perth, and then obviously the event itself was massive. So how much does that add? Maybe just getting some eyes that might not be tuned into the Australian indie scene out there.
Yeah, honestly, heaps. Because whenever I talk to someone and I'm like, oh, I'm a professional wrestler, and they're like, Australia has professional wrestling? Yes, it has professional wrestling. So just the fans that might not realize that there is independence in Australia, we had like EPW did a super show, and maybe people that went to Elimination Chamber also then went to the super show, and then you had people from all over Australia at the super show. So they're like, oh, this wrestler's from Sydney and I live in Sydney, therefore there must be wrestling in Sydney that I can go watch. Yeah. So I think it just helped the scene overall.
Well, and especially, you look recently, Zarya being the latest example, Grayson Waller recently coming back, but even going back to like the iconics, to Neil Dashwood, like you guys have a real rich history. You even mentioned Madison and of course, Robbie Eagles as well too. So it's been really, really cool even for me to get to see that exposure. I do want to start, of course, with Zarya, though. You did have one of the last matches with her on the independent scenes. I listened to the interviews. You've obviously put her over a ton, but just tell me how much it means to you to have the opportunity to wrestle her, of course, like I said, in one of her last matches, but just go on to see her absolutely kill it so far through NXT.
Yeah, it was really special for me to have one of her last matches in Australia. But then, because we wrestled a lot over here as well, not just, we had one match in Sydney, but then we wrestled quite a bit down in Melbourne as well. Mm-hmm. So we got pretty close. And I think in the ring, we worked really, really well together. And then seeing her, I swear, it was a week after she moved to America, they were releasing hype video packages. And I'm like, oh, she's good. She's sorted. She's this is what she deserves. Yeah, she's a superstar. This makes sense to me. So it's just cool to see her get what is deserved, really, because she just looks fantastic, and she is fantastic in the ring and outside the ring as well. So it's just cool to see.
Couldn't agree with you more. Were you a part of that WWE tryout? I know Elimination Chamber might have been on a different day than that, but were you a part of it when it was there? What was the experience like? And it might be a dumb question in some ways, but is that a goal for you in the future, is to maybe be a part of the promotion?
Yeah, no, I wasn't a part of the tryout. I've never been a part of a WWE tryout, so that would be definitely a definite goal for me. Even just to do a tryout or something like that in the future, I think would be a really cool experience. Just because we have lots of people from our training school that have experience, stuff like that. Like Grayson Waller came from PWA. I don't think he did a tryout, actually, so that's pretty cool. But it would be a cool experience, and definitely it's not something I'm going to turn down, that's for sure.
Absolutely, man. What are your thoughts? I've really enjoyed asking indie wrestlers about their thoughts on the WWE ID program. I run shows out here in Edmonton, and I think it's just absolutely fascinating. But, obviously, look at me. This is a podcaster's body by all accounts, nonetheless a wrestler. So, what are your thoughts on it as someone who's directly impacted on the indies by stuff like this?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. What I can see from it is they're investing in the schools and some independent wrestlers that they want to keep their eyes on. So I can only see that being a good thing. I'd be really interested if they make it international. I don't know if they have yet or if they're planning to, but if they are, it'd definitely be something I'd be looking into, just to get that little extra boost of confidence and I don't know, just know that you're on the right track kind of thing. I think it's a really cool experiment.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm really, really interested to see where it goes in the future as my microphone falls over. You mentioned Grayson Waller there. I did want to ask about his return to the PWA. Obviously, it's so cool to get the opportunity to see new eyes tuning into a promotion that, I've been following casually as often as I can through the years, but you guys obviously have a great thing going on there. So to see a guy like that come back, I guess make his debut technically.
Yeah, right. Grayson That's Waller. Weird to say.
But technically the debuting Grayson Waller make his return. What was it like to see a guy like that come back? Obviously you're going to learn a whole lot of new stuff when you're coming over to the WWE part of that program as well too. So what was that like to have the experience to be in the same locker room again?
It was actually so surreal because I didn't think this would happen in 1,000 years. I never once thought that right? He could be with WWE, the biggest wrestling company in the world, and then he's allowed to come back here and wrestle for PWA. That's amazing. That was so sick. And I was when they said it, I was are you sure? Did we double check this? Are we sure this is okay? But no, it was amazing. And having him back at the locker room as well. He's such a locker room leader. And yeah, especially for PWA, he was such a locker room leader. And having him back, it was so cool as well. Having him just backstage, watching all the wrestling, watching all the people do their thing, and getting feedback from him again. So yeah, it's he's never left either. Just straight back into the role.
Well, I was going to say, it doesn't seem like Australia's left a lot of him, and I do have to ask. I've asked a couple of my Australian friends on this. What's the deal with a Shoey?
Oh.
I don't understand it, and maybe it's just the Canadian me that a cold boot with beer and it doesn't sound all that appealing. But what's the deal with it?
You might be asking the wrong person because I've done 2 Shoeys in my life too.
Okay,
and I'm happy at that. That's a nice amount of Shoeys. One was actually last year, I think, at our last PWA show. Me and the Tuckman had a Shoey in the ring, and he's like, "I'll take you," because I just finished wrestling. He's like, take your wrestling boot off. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not getting beer in my wrestling boot and then have to like dry it outside. Also, I just wrestled for like 20 minutes. I'm not drinking out of this. So I made him take his shoe off and I just drank from his shoe. Yeah, I don't get it either. It's gross. I'll be real. It's disgusting, but you got to do what you got to do.
Well, completely fair.
I succumb to the peer pressure when the fans are chanting for me.
That's exactly it. You got to send the crowd home happy, so to speak, right? Now,
exactly,
I do have to ask again, too.
Shoey, I'm doing the Shoey.
It's exactly it. It's like when people yell, get the tables. You got to get the tables eventually,
exactly.
Right? The other thing I wanted to ask, and a shout out to my friend Josh Robinson out in Australia as well, too. And I've got no context here, but hopefully I ain't raising any feelings. Tell me a little bit about Vegemite. What's the story there? Is there a story there?
This morning. It's 10 a.m. So it's not this morning, but I've woken up and I haven't had breakfast yet. But I'm craving some toast, heaps of butter, small amount of Vegemite. Like, as soon as we're done here, that's what I'm having.
What is it?
I don't know. It's I think it's a yeast extract or something. I don't know what it is. It's like really salty. It's like soy sauce in like a spread form, I reckon. But I don't really like soy sauce that much, but I love Vegemite.
All right. I'm going to have to do some digging. I'm going to have to message him on that. Well, I'm going to have to send him the clip here as well, too. But I'm going to have to do some digging on that one as well.
Like, so the way you're meant to have it on toast. Don't just eat it out the jar like it's Nutella. It's not going to be good. Like, I would do that, but don't do that. So you have to have like toast, heaps of butter, and then like a small amount of Vegemite if it's your first time. You have to build yourself up to it.
I'll have to go to like one of the like specialty stores or whatever here in Edmonton. I doubt we've got any of it here in Canada, but what can you do? Now, I want to close her out here before we start to get back to December 28th. And then of course the new year there for yourself and the PWA. I might be putting you on the spot a little bit here because there are a lot of Australians that come to mind when people even ask me this question or when they ask about, Canadian versions or anything like this. But Jessica Troy, who would be on your Australian wrestling Mount Rushmore?
Oh, no, that's so hard. So that's 4 wrestlers, right?
Yes. And I'll give you an honorable mention if you need to.
Who's on my so that's like all-time top. The greats. Yes. My Mount. Well, I know Robbie Eagles would have to be on there.
Okay.
He just has to be. Robbie Eagles has to be on there. I think Tennille Dashwood has to be on there as well. Just because she was like one of the first to get signed, and she just did an amazing job. Oh, this is so hard. I need like Ricky South.
Okay.
Has to be on there. Fantastic worker, fantastic wrestler, can do anything, deserves the world. And the 4th one is going to have to be me.
Absolutely.
Is that allowed?
Absolutely, it's allowed.
Me and Charli Evans will share.
All right. That sounds
always
good.
Get so jealous.
Well, completely fair, but perhaps, and hopefully she doesn't take issue with me saying this, but maybe you'll have to be a solo number 4 on that again after December 28th here. We're heading into the new year, though. What have you got maybe for some New Year's resolutions or some goals after, of course, you take care of Charli Evans and the North Shore Wrestling?
I'd like to go and travel a little bit more, I think. I haven't traveled for wrestling. I think I traveled to America after COVID, but I used to go like heaps, like multiple times a year and stuff. So I'd like to travel again. And also Japan. I'd be very interested in going to Japan sometime.
Have you ever had the opportunity to wrestle there?
No, never. But I think I'd like it.
I would have to assume, and you know what they say about assumptions, they make an ass of you and me, but I would have to assume.
My mom's favorite saying.
Well, she's obviously got great taste, and I like to think I do too. And I like to think I've got great taste in interview guests, of course, yourself included. Thank you very much. It's been a great time today, and thank you for being the last interview of the year. We're closing her out on a high note. So
thank you so much
let the people know where they can follow you, and of course where they can pick up tickets for December 28th Mounties Mania.
Yes, so please come to Mounties Mania. It's going to be a fantastic show. There's going to be a cage match. Big Fudge and Ricky South. I can't wait to see that. Plus, I finally, hopefully, get my hands on Charli Evans after she attacked me. But other story. You can get the tickets on the PWA websites, and you can follow me on Instagram at Jessica Troy Pro. You You can also follow me on Twitter at Jessica Troy Pro, but I'm not very active on Twitter, so I don't blame you if you don't.
I was going to say, I feel like a lot more of us, myself included, are starting to say that sentence a little bit more. But Jessica, thank you. I can't wait to tune in from over here in Canada. I appreciate you taking the time out of your morning. Enjoy your Vegemite. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, please throw us a follow at Love Wrestling CA, wherever podcasts are played, videos reviewed, or awesome content is created by awesome people. I have been, and I will continue to be, Spencer Love. Thank you for tuning in, friends. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.